Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul. Unfortunately, Aaron is out sick with a case of the I'm so sleepies, so he will not be able to join us for tonight. He is a new parent, of course. He's got the third child, and it's certainly catching up. He's got like 4 hours of sleep, so I certainly do not blame him for not being able to make it tonight. But it is episode number 108. Thank you guys for joining us. For anybody who's in the chat right now, if you can go and take a look at the Twitter account that we have and retweet us, or if you can just share us on Facebook or whatever other platforms you have to get our names out there, help get some more people in here so we can have a nice conversation. I think it'd be awesome. We were supposed to go at 10 o'clock. We're not going at 9:40 for tonight's game, at least. Just wanted to get this thing moving and grooving and get going on this. So I appreciate that. So what we'll do right now is we'll just go ahead and start talking about the games from this past week here. So I've got some notes here. So there was the game against St. Louis. It was the 3-2 overtime win. Dubnyk gets a second start in a row. That shows a lot of confidence in Dubnyk after the 4-0 loss to Vegas. So the Sharks need confidence in someone in net, right? And it seems like they've really picked Devan Dubnyk as the guy that they're looking at right now as the one who's kind of like the hot hand. Obviously, Martin Jones got the start tonight. We'll get to that. But Dubnyk having his second start in a row in this game, again, shows a lot of confidence in his play from the coaching staff, Bob Bugner specifically. So, and we'll see that it goes beyond these two games as well. Vlasic actually got on the board in this game. It's something about the Sharks defense that's really getting it done. We had Šimik, I think, earlier in the season here, and actually just a couple days ago prior to this game, Šimik put one up on the board. So really cool to see guys that aren't named Brent Burns putting goals in the net from the blue line there. Erik Karlsson also had a goal previously before these games, and we'll see that he gets another one later on here. But nice to see Vlasic kind of jumping in. He jumped up in the play, used the defenseman as a screen, kind of a very forward thing to do by using the defenseman as a screen. And yeah, he just rips it past and picks up a goal. It starts off the scoring for the San Jose Sharks in that game. Couture and Kane, as Kevin Kurz had put it, are really driving the bus here. So I think, to be fair to the rest of the lines, though, that line with Couture, Kane, and Kevin Labanc has been one that hasn't had a lot of fluctuation in its line mates, right? You've seen Hertl be out of the lineup. Timo Meier was out of the lineup. Even when Timo was in and Hertl was in, Timo was kind of bumping down to the third line, back up to the second line. He was kind of all over the place. So there was a lot of flux in every other line than the first line, right? So having Kane and Couture driving the bus, maybe that has a lot to do with their skill level, of course, but I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that they've been able to play together pretty much the entire time. I don't even think Kevin Labanc has moved up and down that much. So, yeah, as Kurz had put it, they are driving the bus right now. So, and it shows because Kane came up with the game winner in overtime on this game as well. But I do want to give credit to Erik Karlsson. He had a great pass. He was out there skating really hard. He out-accelerated Ryan O'Reilly up the ice in overtime, made a nice pass over to Kane, and Kane just buries it. And it was just a great play. Nice transition, again, by Erik Karlsson there, doing a really good job of getting the puck over to EK9, who I asked in a post-game interview, actually, saying, hey, were you thinking shot all the way? Because I think most shooters do that. Well, were you thinking shot all the way, or did the thought cross your mind to try to hit Erik Karlsson back? Because I saw when he got the puck, he took a few strides, the goalie was set, and I was thinking, well, maybe if he kicks it back. But he said, no, absolutely not. I was ahead of Carly there, and, I was thinking shot the whole way. So if Karlsson was alongside him, I think maybe it might have been a little bit different, but he was a stride or two behind. So we just figured, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and fire it in. Real quick, I'm going to go over to a couple comments here. Isaiah saying, haha, poor Aaron. I don't know about poor Aaron, man. He brought this on himself. Let's get real. Keith, hi, Paul. Well, hi, Keith. Nice to see you there, buddy. Brian, I'm not going to put that comment up, Brian. I'm going to do that later on, okay? But yes, Isaiah also saying super happy with how the team's playing. Dubnyk and Jones seemed to play well. Karlsson looking fantastic. First line has great chemistry. Curtis Gabriel is adding grit. Yes, absolutely. I agree with everything there. You are bang on there, Isaiah. Well done. If we have Aaron out of the show for too long, we might have you jump on here and help me out a little bit. Okay. I have a clip here from Mario Ferraro. I think this was actually pregame from the St. Louis game. And I recalled Bob Bugner saying, this is just a matter of time before you see this guy with a letter on his jersey. And I kind of wanted to ask him about that, about being a potential future leader for the team. So, super producer Jason, go ahead and we'll roll this clip.
Hey, Mario. Bob believes that it's just a matter of time that you'll have a letter on your jersey. And as a projected leader, an active voice on this team, have you taken on a mentor role for the other young players in regards to work and preparation?
I think that I just come to the rink and be myself every day. First of all, I appreciate the kind comments. But yeah, I try to come to the rink and just be myself. And there's a lot of things that my teammates bring to the rink that I like to learn off of and build off of what they do. So it's not just about what I'm doing, but I'm also learning from the guys around me too, all the young guys on our team and how they come to the rink and prepare and be ready for every game. We got a lot of young guys playing different positions. So there's areas where I can learn at what they do and how to prepare and be ready to go out there.
And then Mario, it doesn't really seem who's in matter who's in net between Devin Dubnyk, Martin Jones, even last season, Aaron Dell. It seems like the goaltending on this team has had their struggles. How much of that do the players take on themselves?
I think it's we have to play better in front of them. I think that we have to do a better job of giving them opportunities out there. It's hard to, finish off a solid game when, you're receiving some 2-on-1s and here and there. And I'm a part of that, being more responsible and defending our net, moving and playing 200 foot and making sure that, I protect the front of our net. So our goaltenders are great goaltenders over the last couple of years, and they play their heart out every single night. They put a lot of effort in to be better in practice, to be better in games, and they're always giving it 110. And it's our job to play as best we can in front of them. And I think it's a little unfair. It's just the position that they play. I think it's unfair sometimes that there's a lot of pressure on them. But I think that we can do a better job of supporting them and being better for them. So myself included, and that's what we look to do moving forward here.
Yeah, so I thought that was just a really humble answer for him to say, I just go out there and I just do what I do. And, I'm actually learning from others as well. So it's not just me trying to be a good role model for the rest of the team, but I learned things from them, even the new guys. So I just thought that was a really humble way of approaching that question. And it kind of shows, again, this leadership quality where he's not kind of all about himself and saying, oh, yeah, totally, I'm a good leader on this team and blah, whatever. He's got a more humble way of approaching it. And I really did appreciate that. One other thing that I appreciated was that he had said, hey, I appreciate the kind words. It's not the first time I've had a Shark player say that. I think Ryan Donato was the first one. It's just, I don't know, something kind of nice that they appreciate when you say nice things. And I don't know, it's just one of those things I kind of picked up on. I like the other thing he said here is saying it's not really fair to the goaltenders. This is right up my alley. Anybody who watches this show knows that I have a lot of sympathy for goaltenders, and I didn't even play goalie. I played D, but that's why I have a lot of sympathy for goaltenders is that I know that the position doesn't get a fair shake sometimes. And then he said the same thing, it's just the position that they play. And he doesn't think it's fair all the times the amount of criticism that they get because the people in front of them need to be doing their job just as well. So as somebody who played defense beforehand, I always looked to myself and said, what could I have done better to prevent that goal from going in? If there was nothing I could have done and the goalie just missed it, okay, fine. But if there was something I could have done to maybe shove someone off to the boards or clean up, junk in front of the net, getting the puck out of there, then that's something that I felt that it was my fault, not the goaltender. If I had done my job, the goaltender wouldn't have needed to do his in that instance. So I like what he said there. He's saying all the things, again, that a future leader would be saying. So really good to see from Mario Ferraro on that one there. So the other interesting thing that happened, or one of the interesting things that happened during this game, is LeBanc was actually benched for the entirety of the third period. He took 2 penalties in the second. Coach Bob Bugner was not very happy with that. He even said, I showed him a few clips on the iPad on the bench. Now this is the NHL that we live in. Okay, you have iPads on the bench that don't just show stuff, from later on. It's like real-time stuff. Hey, this is what you just did in this last shift. Here's what we can do to try to correct it, whatever else. I just find it really interesting that, technology is what it is, of course, but that they have it on the bench ready to go for these players at a moment's notice for the previous shift even that they just took. So it was really cool that they were able to do that. But, again, he was not very happy with the way that Kevin was playing. He didn't think he was engaged enough. He said that, he didn't think Kevin could help the team at that point. So that's why he benched him. He just basically sat him down. There was nothing malicious. He wasn't, very overly critical of him with the media or anything else. He was just, this is just how I feel. He wasn't able to help us out, so I sat him. It's nothing personal. And he'll bounce back, right? So another person who actually said that Labanc would bounce back, Logan Couture. And I have another clip here of Logan talking about Labanc's benching, as I was able to ask him about that. So super producer Jason, go ahead and roll that one.
Hey, Logan, with Kevin Labanc being benched in the third, does the message sending end with Bob Boughner, or as captain, are you tasked with engaging Kevin as well?
I think Kevin knows. I'm sure we'll have a talk, but he's smart enough. I mean, just one of those nights where nothing really went his way, and it happens. It's going to happen again for someone throughout a season, and Banker was positive on the bench, cheering guys on, and he'll be better next game, and we know that.
So after that interview with Logan Couture, Kevin Labanc actually came and faced the music with the media folks. I don't have a clip of him because I didn't feel it was necessary, but he did say that he just needs to keep it simple. That was the message to him, was that he just needs to keep it simple. Obviously, Bob was not very happy with the way he wasn't very engaged in the game. So that's another takeaway there. But I think, again, you got to play the game a little bit more simply. And we've heard this before from Bob Boughner, saying that to Erik Karlsson, a guy who is not a simple player, right? He's a guy that will take the puck and do fantastic things with it if you allow him to. And Bob kind of wanted even Erik Karlsson to do the same thing, simplify your game. So we see this message not just once, twice, but, it's kind of permeating through some of these guys in the lineup now. So Labanc, of course, getting that message. And it's one of those things that he said, it's in the past now. Okay. That game, tonight's game from when this happened, is now in the past. I have to move on from it and get ready for the next game. And so that's exactly what he does in the very next game here. In fact, it seems like everybody kind of moved on. This Anaheim win, where it was a 6-0 win. I'm sure everyone remembers this one here. So we'll just go ahead and talk about it. I'll do it briefly because there's almost too much to talk about. I just want to go blasting through it. Hurdle comes back from COVID. His first game back from COVID, he scores a goal. Timo, his first game back from injury, he scores a goal. Labanc has a 3-point night, and he also scores a goal. So this is, again, he comes back and says, you know what? I need to simplify my game. I need to show that I'm, capable in the NHL here. And I got to show my coach that, I shouldn't be benched, and I'm going to move on from my prior mistakes. He does exactly that, goes out, pots one. You can't ask for much more than that in terms of having a response. That was there's no better response from being benched than to go out in the next game and score a goal. So super happy with Kevin Labanc, the way he bounced back right there. And, on this show, we've been a little critical of Kevin. But I think in this instance, it's definitely worth the pat on the back that I'm giving him. So there you go, Kevin. Nice big pat on the back. Erik Karlsson in this game scores his second of the season. As of this game, he had 5 points in the last 5 games. Erik Karlsson is heating up, folks. The dam is going to break, I feel like. And we've talked about this before, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But I honestly feel like you see it in his skating. You see it the way he's starting to shoot the puck a lot more often now. He's not just looking for the pass anymore. And he's just such a dynamic player, and it's starting to come to fruition now. That third groin that we were making jokes about, it's giving him superpowers right now. This guy is able to skate like I've not seen him skate in a very long time. Even just tonight's game, if you watch, his ability to bring the puck over the blue line. And I've been critical of this, not from Erik Karlsson, but from the Sharks in general, that especially on the power play, they have such a hard time breaking into the offensive zone, getting across the blue line. We did not see that issue tonight, at least not with Erik Karlsson on the ice. He walked across the blue line several times. So it's really exciting to see him getting back to form, jumping in and just forcing the plays now. He's forcing this puck across the blue line like nobody else can, and the other teams just can't stop it. So I'm really excited to see where his game goes from here. So yeah, I'm just really stoked about Erik Karlsson. I really want him to be the player that we all know he can be. So there's that. And there was another funny moment in the game with Erik Karlsson here. There was an icing that Comtois was trying to beat Erik Karlsson down the ice. And this just shows how back Erik Karlsson is. He raced down and beat Comtois, just out accelerated him, beat him to the puck. Icing gets called. And as he's circling around behind the net, he looks over his shoulder at Comtois, and I don't know the actual words, but basically like, yeah, I beat you on that one, didn't I? He's like, I won that race, with a little chuckle and a smile. So it's nice to see him out there, full strides, a big smile, having fun, getting the job done out there as well. So super happy with everything that's going on with Erik Karlsson, especially in this game here. So moving on, we've got Kane scores a goal. He scored his 10th goal of the season, so he's now in double digits, joining Logan Couture. Again, Logan Couture and Evander Kane really driving the bus right now for the San Jose Sharks. These guys are scoring goals left and right. Absolutely loving it. I want to call out a comment from Gernster, I don't know, looking like the EK65 from Ottawa. That's what I'm talking about. I knew he had it in him. I was just waiting for it, and I'm glad that he is sort of starting to look a lot more like that dominant force that we originally acquired. So hopefully he continues to do that. Again, no, Kane scoring his 10th goal of the season. So good to see him continuing to score. He's at this point, he was at 22 points in 24 games, I believe. So nearly a point per game. Really good stuff from Evander Kane. One thing I did want to bring up about Evander was, in a post game, I had said, how much do you like Curtis Gabriel, who's another guy we'll talk about later on here? How much do you like Curtis Gabriel coming in and handling the fisticuffs so that you can focus more on scoring goals? And he gave me a very sobering response. And I checked on this. He says, I don't know why everybody thinks I fight so much. I fight literally on average twice a year. I think it's just because I have such a physical game. My job here is to score goals. And I thought, you know what? He's probably over-exaggerating a little bit. That can't be right. Kane fights all the time, right? No, he doesn't. He averages 2 fights a year, a season. And I went back and I looked, and he's got 1 fight, 3 fights, 1 fight. It's not nearly as much as I thought. For some reason, I don't know why, I was under the impression that Kane drops the gloves way more often than he should and needs to be on the ice more scoring goals. And I think maybe I got a little confused. He's in the box more often than I'd like him to be in there. But it's not always because of fighting. And for some reason, I had it in my head that he's just fighting all the time. So yeah, he kind of told me what for on that response there, and I guess well deserved. I didn't do my my fact checking on that one there. So, I'm sorry, we have a Venmo from Robert Spittler. Because the Sharks finally have a winning streak, let's hope they make the playoffs. Hey man, I'm all for it. I love that. And then that's something that they were talked about as well. We'll get to Doug Wilson's quotes in just a minute here. But yeah, they're not trying to not make the playoffs. They're going to make a push. The expectation is that no matter what, we will always push and try to make the playoffs. We're never going to sit there and just kind of let the season go by. That's not our game. That's not what we do. We're here for to compete. We're here to be, to develop our players and whatnot. So even when you're developing the players, there's expectations. If you're contributing to a win, as we've seen with Bob Bugner, if you're not contributing to the team, you will be benched, or you will not be even on the team in the first place. You'll get put on the taxi squad or bumped down to the AHL. So either you're going to produce and play, or if you're on the team, you're going to be sitting on the bench. So, again, for me, I like the philosophy from Bob Bugner. There's really nothing personal there. That's just the expectations and the realities of it. So good on him. And again, thank you for the tip there. If anybody else wants to help support the show, you can do so by Super Chat, as well as through Venmo tips. Venmo would be at the Fin Factor. So if you'd like to do that, that way the Google and YouTube, I guess, they don't get a cut of it. I know a lot of you folks were saying use something other than Super Chat because you didn't want the Google or YouTube or whoever else it is to get a cut of that. So Venmo, there you go. Also, as long as I've kind of stopped here, don't forget to visit thefinfactor.com. We have shirts, hats, stickers. That's another great way for you guys to be able to support the show, and that's exactly what you're doing, is supporting us. So it's right down there for anybody who's watching and anybody on the podcast. Again, thefinfactor.com. Any support that we can get from you guys, absolutely appreciated. So there you go. Handemark also gets his first NHL goal. Really awesome stuff from him. He battles, stick lifts, pushes past, and then rips one right in the goal there. And he just, he was super happy. You could see he was pumped. It was nice to see, he got the puck, got the tape around it, and it writes everything down on the puck, the date and everything else, first goal. So it's one of them that he'll always remember, I think. You got Brett Hedican tonight talking about somebody else's first goal. We'll get to that in a second. Brett Hedican saying, yeah, no, I've got my first goal. It's on a plaque, it's hanging up or whatever it was. I don't know if he like framed it or something like that. I think he probably framed it. But just one of those things where, it's a very special thing. And you could see on the look on his face, he was just super pumped and jazzed to get his first NHL goal. But now we've gone through all the goal scoring. That took a long time. Let's talk about a little bit of goaltending here. Devin Dubnyk. The Sharks' first shutout of the season belongs to Devin Dubnyk. I'm stoked with this guy. I knew when we got him that he was going to be great for the show. He was going to be great for, for the show, I guess. Yeah, if we start playing well, it's good for us. But I meant great for the team. So, good to see that this guy is in there playing really strong. Again, this was his second in a row. Or actually third in a row now was with Devin Dubnyk. So having him get the first shutout of the season, totally something that I was all for. I think that he deserves it. I think he's played his heart out. He's done such a great job. He hasn't gotten the goal support previously. He certainly got the goal support that night. So really, good on Devin Dubnyk for coming up with a big goose egg there. He had a humongous pivotal save against Comtois. Comtois is a guy's name that I keep bringing up. He's very, very strong player for the Anaheim Ducks, but he had a pivotal save against Comtois, led to Kane's goal. So it could have been, I believe, 2-1. Instead, it's a 3-0. So it's a 2-goal swing, and that just kind of helps build the confidence and kind of almost knock down the confidence for the Ducks a peg there, right? You go from, being that close to being 1 goal down, and now you're back to being 3 goals down of all things. So, just a really deflating save before the extra deflating goal. So I'm all for it, right? And as of Friday, which was yesterday, only Knizhov, who has 2 points as assists, Ferraro with 7 assists, and Gambrell, we'll get to that, with 4 assists, have no goals among players with more than 5 games played. So not counting Curtis Gabriel and one other whose name I can't remember. But basically, only those 3. Everybody else on the team has at least scored a goal after Handemark was able to score his goal there. So, and we'll move on and we'll get to the rest of that stuff in just a second here. But Miller had to relieve John Gibson in this game because he was just getting shelled. And in Anaheim tonight, the next night, Miller gets the start. So, which is kind of to be expected because Gibson started. You think that you would just go with the other guy, right? Whoever it is. And the Sharks did that as well. They had Devin Dubnyk in net back-to-back nights. You get Jones in net. So Anaheim doing the exact same thing. Jones in net. And now a lot of fans wanted to see Devin Dubnyk again. But that's too many games, I think, in a row. I think it would be 4. And to have him play 3 games and then the 4th one would have been a back-to-back, I think that's just too much. So I think obviously the right call for tonight to have Martin Jones start in a back-to-back. And I think you're gonna expect to see this on any of the Friday, Saturday games that we have. Because, again, every Friday has a Saturday attached to it now. For the rest of the season. So it's going to be back-to-backs every Friday, Saturday. Whoever they play Friday, expect it to be somebody else on Saturday. And we can expect to see that for the rest of the season. So there's just information on that one there. So, tonight, Kane opens up the scoring 2 seconds after the penalty kill expired, maybe 2 seconds. I mean, we're talking Marleau barely got his foot on the ice from being in the penalty box, and Evander Kane scores a goal. So it could have been another shorthanded goal for Evander Kane. I think he already had 1, maybe 2. But this would have been another shorthanded goal for Evander Kane had this penalty expired maybe 2 seconds later. So, really good stuff from Evander Kane. Obviously, he's got a lot of jump in his game there. Puck's getting out of the zone. He's beating them down there when they've only got 4 on the ice. The other team's got 5, and he's moving. So there's a lot of effort coming from Evander Kane's game. I can't complain about his game whatsoever. He's done such a phenomenal job, I think, this season so far, and I'm really looking forward to how the rest of the season shakes out. I'd be really upset to see him go. We're talking about the whole bankruptcy thing last time or at the trade deadline or whatever else. I'd be upset to see him not be a part of this team beyond this year. But as of right now, at least, Not going to think about that. I'm only thinking about, how impressive his game has been, how hard he's worked, how much puck protection skills this guy has. His shot is incredible. The guy has the whole package. He really does. And he's been staying out of the penalty box for the most part. So he's been playing a lot more responsibly as well, on top of all the other skills that he brings to it. Let's see. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about not Martin Jones, but Max Jones scores a goal on Martin Jones. It was a puck that was chipped past Šimek, and Šimek was a little flat-footed, a little bit slow to get to it. So it was a kind of a breakaway situation of sorts. So it's hard, again, for me to kind of say, oh, that's Martin Jones' fault. It was a nice shot. It went right over the pad, right under the blocker. So it was very well targeted. And it was one of those ones where it was, again, kind of a breakaway. So it's hard for me to kind of put the blame on the goaltender in those situations. You guys know me. So that goes without saying, I'm sure. But Martin Jones, again, is not the guy that you can rely on to make that kind of a save, right? You don't want to, what Martin Jones is, and everyone else has this problem with Martin Jones too. They say, oh, he's like Swiss cheese. Well, if you believe that, then you need to be a lot more protective of Martin Jones. You can't let them chip the puck past your defense and let them have like a partial breakaway, right? That's just, it's more often than not going to end well. So if you know that, don't allow those. You got to prevent those types of plays from happening. In this case, Šimek I think he just kind of lost the puck as he was looking around for it, and he didn't seem to know where he was going, or where the puck was going, rather. So there's that. Now, the score is tied 1-1, but immediately after that, you've got LeBanc scoring. It was a great play by Hertl. He's puck protecting behind the net, and as he's falling, he's able to center the puck over to LeBanc, who just was Johnny on the spot right there, bang, one-timer. So, I mean, again, here's Kevin LeBanc again, scoring goals, right? So this is what you want from the guy. You want him to step up when he has a bad game, to come back and play well. Now, it's not just him playing well. He scored a goal, and then the next game he scored a goal. It's more than just coming out there and having hard work and getting good chances and good looks. The guy's producing. So, again, we've been critical of him on this show, but I'm giving credit where credit's due. Kevin LeBanc came out and he put up tonight, and he put up the night before, and he's scoring goals again. So, again, it has a lot to do with him being on a line with the steady hand, the guys that are driving the bus, and Logan Couture and Evander Kane. However, on this goal this night, it was Tomas Hertl who was the recipient of that beautiful pass from, right? So Kevin LeBanc just getting it done right now. Again, I'm going to pat the back where it's due, and I'm going to give praises where it's due. So that all aside, actually, no, there's more on that one. Sorry. Third period, it's a 2-1 game, and guess who finally scores? Dylan Gambrell gets his first NHL goal. He's paying the price in front of the net. Now, Donato is behind the net, and he tries to stuff this puck in, and the puck kind of flips up a little bit, and Gambrell taps it, and it bounces over the pad. Before and after the puck goes in the net, Gambrell gets completely mugged. He gets knocked over, and as he's falling back, one of the Duck defensemen, I think it was, he kind of throws his arm back, and he knocks his helmet backwards, and you could see Gambrell, like, if he hadn't have scored, you could probably tell that he would have been a little shaken up, but the fact that the puck went in the net, he didn't care. He was like, I finally scored, and he was just so happy. You could see it. Again, I love seeing that, the guy's first goal. From like Handemark earlier, you could see it in his face. Same thing with Gambrell. I think even more so for Gambrell. I think Handemark has only played like 2 games in the NHL, right? And he got his goal. Gambrell's been doing this for like 20-something games. So for him to be snake bit for this long, but then finally get that goal, you could just see the relief on his face. And again, all the hard work finally paying off. I almost was hoping that this show would start on time so that I can get into the post game questions. And maybe Gambrell would be there, obviously, because he's got his first goal. I could ask him, so the dam is broken now. You're ready to score 15-20, right? Hopefully get a little chuckle out of that one. I don't know. But really good on Gambrell being able to get in there, get that goal, and kind of get that monkey off the back, right? So hopefully he can get out there, keep making the good plays he's been making, and maybe he'll get a little bit more puck luck, and we'll see the puck go in a little bit more for him. I'd love to see that. The guy deserves it. He's been doing a great job all season long. On that third line center, and even when Hertl was out, jumping up to the second line. I'm going to call out a couple comments here. One from, I have to scroll up just a bit here. Sorry. Brian saying, I'm just waiting for a Knizia first goal. Dude, me too. I think the guy deserves it, and I think he's more than capable. He is an offensive force. He can do it. So absolutely looking forward to Knijov's first goal. Gernster save Doobie for Vegas. Yeah, I mean, again, I think you're going to have the next coming games here are against Vegas. There's 2 games. One's going to go to Doobie for sure. And then I don't know, maybe Martin Jones either gets the second start or maybe Jones gets the first one. If Jones gets the first one, Doobie's definitely getting the second. But if Doobie gets the first one, the second game's for a couple of days. It might be up in the air. If Dubnyk keeps playing the way that he's been playing, he's been doing a great job. Another one here. Oh, Sonic Tonic. I'm going to call it out. Thank you. Paul's doing a great job with this one-man show tonight. I really appreciate it. Hey, man, I appreciate you appreciating it because it was one of those things where I'm going, gosh, should we cancel the show? Should we not do it? Because I don't know if I can handle this without having Aaron to bounce off of. It's a lot of talking. But, you know, hey, I appreciate you showing me a little bit of love there, Sonic Tonic. Thank you so much, man. I do appreciate that. Gamby loves a morning skate. Yes, I think that is a callback to Mario Ferraro saying Gamby loves a morning skate, huh, Gamby? If you haven't seen that clip, please seek it out. It's a funny one. It's a nice little chuckle from Mario Ferraro. Mario Ferraro, just again, probably my favorite player on the team right now. He does everything the right way in terms of playing the game. He's always hustling. He's got the best attitude, and I can only imagine how awesome he must be in the locker room with all the boys. So definitely looking for, the more you know, there it is down there. Definitely looking forward to some more Mario Ferraro as the Sharks seasons go on into the future. So there you go. Martin Jones stood tall all game long in this game, especially in the third period. The Ducks did have quite a push near the end there, but Martin Jones, true to form, where he's, got his angles set properly. He's not giving up a whole lot of rebounds, and that near the end of the game, at least, he was sucking everything up and into him. Did a really fine job, I thought. So a lot of that, again, we have to come back to my philosophy. Good defense is going to help you win games, and good defense actually helps out the goaltending numbers as well. It makes the goalies look better. I don't think Martin Jones needed the defense to make him look better tonight. He did a really good job all on his own, but I think the team is coming together as a team. They're gelling a lot better right now, and they're playing well together. So from good defense comes good offense. We saw the night previous 6-0 tonight, 3-1. I mean, what else can you ask for from this team right now? They're on, don't look now, but they are on a 3-game win streak. This is a team that was, a horrible team that everyone thought, oh, they're so bad and everything. And I'm not saying they're actually, a phenomenal team, but it's amazing what happens when you get Tomas Hertl and Timo Meier back in the lineup and everyone else is starting to gel together and play well together. I think this team has a lot more to offer than being the bottom of the basement of the West. Now, it may be a little too late. At the same time, we started off, 14 of 16 on the road. So, and on with a team that is trying to learn everything new. In fact, let's just jump to this. There was a conference, I guess you can call it, with Doug Wilson. Unfortunately, I wasn't a part of that, but there was a lot of other media guys that were able to ask a lot of questions, and I found some of them very interesting. So we're going to share one right now. It was Doug Wilson on the coaching staff during the pandemic. It's a pretty low quality clip, so maybe close your eyes and just listen. But here you go. We'll go ahead and play that clip for you now.
And I think one of the other big things that I really appreciate our coaches and our players not worrying about things they can't control is when you got 14 of 16 games to start the season on the road and you're trying to implement a new system and integrate young players and you don't have any matchups. The other team has the last change. So, for example, we go to Colorado, you throw a young D-man on the ice or a young forward line, out comes Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen, and that's just the way it is. So you learn from those experiences. The schedule now flips a little differently going forward, and hopefully we can have the continuity of guys in the lineup. When you've got a Timo Meier and a Tomas Hertl in the lineup, it pushes young guys back into probably proper roles. But there's just been a lot of things that go into this uniqueness of this year. And it's not just our team, it's the Barracuda also not having access to them and them being on the road and having a lot of games canceled. So it's just been a unique, challenging year that you learn a lot about people going through those things too.
So Doug Wilson obviously taking that call from Winnipeg. Apparently, I think that was the one where people were clowning on the horrible Wi-Fi. I mean, maybe it was Demers or somebody, I forget who it was, but again, really low quality. Come on, Doug, buy a webcam or something, buddy. Jeez. Anyway, I think a lot of people forget. This is a team that was learning a new system, not just veteran players learning a new system. But also new players to the team learning the new system and learning their teammates at the same time. That's a whole lot to try to crunch together without having a training camp, right? Without having that rookie camp there. So it was a lot of it that was just kind of thrown together. And I think that the beginning of the season was very indicative of that, right? You see how bad the team was kind of in the beginning of the season. You look at them now and they're still, the record is what it is. But I think lately the Sharks have definitely played a lot better, and you can see that in their game, and you can see that they're a better team than when they started. Specifically after a lot of the injuries and then them coming back, I think everybody's had a good chance to kind of reset a little bit themselves and be able to come out there and again really gel together as a team and make this team closer to what we all thought it could be. With big names like Erik Karlsson, Brent Burns, Logan Couture, Evander Kane. There's a lot of big names on this team that should be able to carry a lot of weight and should be able to make the people around them better. And we just hadn't seen that much. I think lately you've been seeing it a lot more. So definitely something I think a lot of people forget with the difficulties of having a brand new system with a lot of new players and no time really to teach anybody those things. You're teaching them during the games, and you're using some of those regular season games almost as practice, as preseason, as a training camp, and it's your record suffers because of that, right? So there's that. And also, again, the 14 and 16 on the road, he says these are realities, not excuses, and I agree with that. He's not making excuses. This is just the reality of it. 14 of 16 on the road, right? And it's not just, it's not our building, so we're uncomfortable here. It's that the other team is getting the last change. Like he said, you throw out a younger line, your second six, as Brett Hedican likes to call it, and all of a sudden here comes Rantanen, McKinnon, and Landeskog, right? So you don't get the benefit of putting out the matching line change for the first 14 of 16 games where everyone's still trying to learn the system. So there's a lot to be said for that. And of course, like he says, he also brought up the people playing their proper roles. When you've got Tomas Hertl out, Dylan Gambrell is not a second line center in this league, at least not yet, and maybe he will never be. So to have him have to play up in that role, yeah, of course, he's going to be going up against guys that are above his pay grade. So, again, you have to look at it and say, I can expect that maybe the Sharks aren't going to do too well in these situations, but then you can't really get mad when they don't do well in those situations, right? So it's just one of those things where, taking the team for what it is, having a little bit of patience with it. I understand there's patience as a virtue there. But, I think it's one of those things where, again, the Sharks are kind of coming out of this and starting to look a little bit better. Now, they may not be a playoff team, but I think that they're going to finish a lot stronger than how they started, or at least get to the trade deadline stronger than how they started. Once the trade deadline hits, who knows who's gone, and then in which case, yeah, they could be absolutely horrible if they trade away all of their talent. So who knows? Having said that, there was another thing that he talked about that I wanted to bring up. And that was on being in a reset mode. And he kind of acknowledges this, right, in this next clip here. So actually, Super Producer Jason, we'll go ahead and roll this clip right now, and I'll talk about it then.
With Tommy's injury, and you mentioned this, well, maybe more last year, but, maybe some lack of depth up front. Why weren't the Sharks more aggressive in this offseason? And what was sort of a buyer's market for unrestricted free agents?
Well, for very simple reasons. We were going to reset, and that meant giving our younger players the opportunities. That's the mode that we're in right now. So you wanted to have, the Patty Marleaus, the Steph Nasons, the Marcus Sorensens, but you want opportunities for our young players to play. That is the mode that we're in. We wanted to make sure that we replenished our system in the draft, and that's why we used all 9 of those picks. We didn't use those picks to go get players from the outside. That's where we're at. We fully understand that this was going to be a year that a lot of teams in the league are going through, and it is a unique year with the pandemic going on. That was the decision that we made. It's like the upcoming trade deadline. I'm not going to be trading our first round pick. I mean, The replenishment of the 9 picks in the last draft, the upcoming draft is important. That's the window and phase that we're in with this team. And we expect, our core players to elevate their games and reestablish it. We expect the young players to get opportunities, whether it be players coming up from the CUDA, whether it be Chekovic coming back from the KHL. That's the window, and that's how we're approaching this season.
So definitely one of the main takeaways, or a few takeaways from this here, is that they were expected that they were going to be in a reset mode. So this isn't something that crept up on them and they're kind of taken by surprise here. They understood that, look, we're probably going to be in a bit of a reset here. So letting the young players play, letting them gain experience, like he said. It's a thing that you need to stress, that they knew that this was not something that was a surprise. They knew that they were going to be in this reset mode. So this is something that is not just expected, but I think communicated, obviously, to Hasso-Plattner. And a lot of people are going to say, well, Doug Wilson needs to get fired or whatever. But I think, again, this is communicated to the team's owner. And as long as the owner is on board with that, it's okay for them to go through this bit of growing pain, and for Doug Wilson to have the opportunity to go and finish this reset and see what happens coming out on the other end. Now, maybe if it doesn't come out well in next season's play, then maybe you've got a point here. Maybe, Doug Wilson is a little bit on the hot seat. But I think for this season, regardless of how this season goes, I think Hasso-Plattner understands that they're going to be going through these growing pains for now, at least. So we'll see how that goes. I know a lot of people are kind of on Doug Wilson watch all the time. But for me, I like the way that he does the job, and I don't think that he's going anywhere. And I don't think that this season, however it ends up, is going to be the last season of Doug Wilson. You're definitely going to have at least one more season based on what he just said, talking about we expected this. And of course, that message is going to get translated to the team's owner, who's probably on board. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to make playoffs. I think he just said that there too. And I think I had someone in here in the comments, and I'm going to try to find it really fast. There it is. Gernster says, all it takes is a losing streak from one of the top 4. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It takes a little bit more than that. It does take a losing streak from one of the top 4, but it certainly takes a winning streak from the San Jose Sharks. Now, as long as they're playing these teams like the Ducks and the Kings, who they can beat these teams no problem, and they have to do that, of course, they can certainly get on a big winning streak here. Now, they've got 3 in a row now, so it's the beginnings of a really nice win streak, but you're going into Vegas, so that win streak might get ended a little bit prematurely. But, again, there's other teams in this league or in this division Sharks can beat for sure. And again, those top teams, they also have to play each other. Someone's got to win. Someone's got to lose. So, you might see a nice big losing streak from one of those top teams that kind of helps get the Sharks, not in the playoffs necessarily, but in contention, at least in the conversation to get into the playoffs. So there's that there. And then the last takeaway from this is, I put this in all caps, not trading first round pick. So expect that the Sharks are going to have a solid pick this coming season, assuming, again, that they don't make the playoffs. It's one of those picks that hopefully is somewhere in that like top 10 or so. If we're not going to make the playoffs, I'd like to have a really low pick right there, get a nice talent, bring them in. And again, this is one of those ones where Doug Wilson Jr. Has the helm now as the scouting and the drafting, right? So we've seen what he's done with drafting as well. Mauro Ferraro was a second round pick under Doug Wilson Jr. So with a first round pick in his hand, again, we didn't have it last season. So with a first round pick in hand for the coming draft, be interesting to see who Doug Wilson Jr. picks here. I know like that the consensus top picks have all been defensemen, and Sharks fans aren't exactly happy about that. But they're going to pick the best player that's not just the best player, but the best player for them as well. So we'll see. If you guys have any thoughts on what the Sharks might need, go ahead and put it in the chat there, and you guys can kind of spark that conversation as well. So anyway, the main takeaway from that, again, the Sharks should and will have their first round pick. Not going to be using it as currency to get a right now player, unless something amazing comes along, I would guess. But it sounds like Doug Wilson is absolutely considering locking down that first and keeping it for himself. Also wanted to note that the Sharks are committed to Evander Kane. Now, Doug Wilson said this during this interview process. We don't have a clip of it, and probably for the better because it looks like it was recorded on a toaster. but it doesn't really matter. The news broke that Kane and the Sharks might be mulling over a contract termination. And in this interview, Doug Wilson stressed, again, I am not interested in not being committed to Evander Kane. We are committed to him. And he's, again, it's a good thing for me, I think, because he's been playing great. He's a big part of this team, a huge part of this offense. He's extremely talented. So I would love to see Evander Kane remain a San Jose Shark, and we'll see what the future holds for this guy. I really hope only good things. I feel bad for his situation he put himself in, obviously and unfortunately. But for me, I like the guy and I like what he brings to the table. So hopefully that all comes out with sunshine and rainbows on the other end of it. Now, a guy who, we'll go back to one comment because it'll lead right into this topic perfectly, I think. So let's see if I can find it. Maximus is lit. The team plays way better when we get gritty. That is above Gernster's last comment there. Thank you, Super Jason. And then Kellen Foster says, I see Gabriel's impact on the forecheck. I can notice that impact, how defensemen get flustered when Gabriel is there. 100%. I thought that this position was dead, the enforcer. But you know what? Curtis Gabriel isn't just an enforcer. He moves his legs and he grinds. I think he's more the grinder type. Now, he fought in every game for the last 3 games, not tonight. So maybe that makes him an enforcer, I guess. But I don't know. I like the guy's game. I think he does a really good job of finishing his checks all the time. And I think it was Sheng Peng, I think is who it was. Sheng Peng had called out, here's an example of it. The Ducks got the puck in their own zone, past D to D or whatever, and the defenseman picks up the puck, looks up, and here comes Curtis Gabriel, and he just wings the puck to the middle of the ice. I just want to get rid of it so I don't get hit. And that is the impact that Curtis Gabriel can have on a team when he's not scoring goals, not getting assists, not doing much of anything offensively. He is pressuring, and that goes a very long way from the other team making mistakes, from the other team having to look over their shoulders, for his own line mates being able to capitalize on those mistakes made by those other players. So I think he brings a whole heck of a lot, and he gets some praise here, and we'll go and talk about that a little bit where he does get that praise. But one guy who wasn't super excited about Curtis Gabriel, amazingly, John Scott, former San Jose Sharks enforcer himself, says that he wasn't very impressed with him. He says he wants him to settle down, I guess. I don't know. He says nobody will disrespect this team while he's on the ice. That's the quote that Curtis Gabriel had, right? When he fought, I believe it was Clifford, right? Kyle Clifford on St. Louis Blues. And that was because of the previous time they played the Blues. Jordan Bennington kind of had his antics, right, where he was trying to fake punch everybody. And Curtis Gabriel was like, no, you're answering the bell for your goaltender. So he fought Kyle Clifford because of that. And Kyle Clifford had to answer the bell. So I don't know. I like that. I think that's part of his role, part of his job, and he's doing that. So for John Scott to come out and say, hey, settle down, kid, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. And he even went so far as to call the quote where he says, no one will disrespect this team. He called that quote embarrassing. I mean, I don't get that. I'm not sure why John Scott would say such a thing to a fellow enforcer, somebody who also drops the gloves here. And, Curtis was very gracious in his response. This all happened on Twitter. He said, I agree to disagree, Big John. He even called him Big John. I mean, he was really nice about it. So, I mean, he just basically says, I love what you're doing with the, post career, but I agree to disagree with you there. And again, it was just a very gracious way of responding from a guy who drops the gloves. So I don't know. Curtis Gabriel, he's getting a lot of fans right now from the San Jose Sharks for everything that he's been doing. But even Brody had said it. It's odd that Scott, an enforcer on a podcast called Dropping the Gloves, would be critical of Curtis Gabriel, but not on this podcast. Or web series, whatever we are. I'm not critical of that at all. I think, if it was a goal scorer who went out and scored when he said that he would, is that still embarrassing? I mean, let's change the roles up now, right? This is what Gabriel's role is. His role is to go out there and intimidate. So if he's going out there and saying no one's going to disrespect this team, and then he has 3 games in a row where he's fighting people, I mean, isn't that him doing his job? That's him playing his role. So again, shift it from somebody who's fighting to somebody who's a goal scorer. If a guy who's a goal scorer says, "Hey man, I'm going to go out there and score a goal and no one's going to be able to stop me." If he goes out in 3 consecutive games and scores goals and he's intimidating the rest of the team, the other team, I should say, and their defense, and they're backing off because they're worried about what he's going to do, isn't that him doing his job? So why is it different if it's the role has switched? That I just don't get. So, but yeah, I mean, again, his role is to go out there and to intimidate. In fact, let's go talk to go with Lundy's comment here. Curtis Gabriel, probably new favorite due to no BS. Hey man, that's yeah, you're absolutely right. He certainly doesn't have any BS in his game. He goes out there, he knows exactly what he's supposed to do, and he goes out there and does it. Now, I don't know if you've read the story. If you haven't, search for a tweet from Randy Hahn, and you'll probably find it. He has the story about Curtis Gabriel and how no one can outwork this guy in the gym. He is just constantly in there trying to beat everyone at being the best at being in the gym. Like he wants to lift the most. He's not going to let anybody outwork him. He's one of those guys where he just refuses to get outworked. So that's the kind of mentality. That's the kind of work ethic he brings to the team. So he brings more than just going out there and slamming bodies and fighting people. Behind the scenes, I think he's an inspiring guy, and on the ice, he's generating and making things happen. So I'm 100% on board with having Curtis Gabriel on this team. I'm happy that he's here. I'm happy that he's found a role. His journey to the NHL was kind of a strange one. Again, find that tweet, find that story. It is a great story to read. So again, for me, Curtis Gabriel, he knows what his role is. He's out there doing his job, and he's backing up his words. So, I mean, for me, for John Scott to say it's embarrassing, again, the guy's backing up his words. If he was just out there saying no one's going to disrespect this team, and then he lost every fight that he tried, or that he went up against somebody else with, he wasn't out there banging bodies, he wasn't doing anything of any, worth to the team, then okay, fine, you've got a point. But he's out there doing his job. So I don't know. I have a problem with John Scott's analysis of that. Again, especially coming from a guy who was an enforcer on a podcast called Dropping the Gloves. It just doesn't make sense to me. But a guy who was gave high praise to Curtis Gabriel, of all people on the team, probably the least tough guy on the team, Erik Karlsson. He said his role is just as important as my role. And I couldn't do the things that I do if he wasn't allowed to do the things that he does. That is very high praise from Erik Karlsson. And I think if you look at the tweet from Erik Karlsson, or not from Erik, but the tweet quoting Erik, and then what's his name? Curtis Gabriel retweets that and says, "This means the world to me. This means everything to me," right? That his teammate, not even just a teammate, a superstar in Erik Karlsson, is calling it out and saying, "I appreciate this player. I appreciate this guy." I mean, such high praise. What more could you want as a player in Curtis Gabriel, who goes out there and bangs bodies, to have a star on the team in the NHL telling you he appreciates what you do and that your role enables my role? Again, this is, for me, another sign that this team has just gelled. They're all on the same page. Whereas last season, I think Doug Wilson had said we had a lot of people that were not used to losing, and they all were kind of leaders and big personalities and whatnot. I think this season that's calmed down a little bit. I think they're more playing as a team as opposed to individuals. And even though the record may not reflect it necessarily, I think it's good things for the future of this team. And maybe Curtis Gabriel isn't a part of that, but I think as Bob Bugner, the way that he played, as long as he's happy with the way that Curtis Gabriel is playing and the things that Curtis Gabriel brings to the team, I think he's going to be on this team at least until next season, and we'll see where it goes from there. Let's see. We'll do a couple comments here. Hernandez here says, an enforcer, I guess. Did you see Gabriel leave Lucic doing the stanky leg back when Gabriel was with the Devils? No, I did not. I will absolutely have to look that one up. Anytime I could see Lucic look like a goof, I'm all for it. If anybody remembers when Lucic, I think, was on the Kings, was skating down the boards, I think it was left boards, and Logan Couture came out of the penalty box and just dropped down, and he basically hip checked him without actually skating into him. Lucic kind of flipped over, and Logan looked back and laughed at him. That was one of my favorite things ever. I just like seeing Lucic look like a goof. So there's that. And then again from, actually, we'll go to Kellen Foster. I've been reading that the termination is for Kane's benefit, meaning the bankruptcy litigation wouldn't be able to take the money on his current NHL contract, so he wouldn't play for free. Yes, that's something that has been said as well, and that's probably true, actually. So, but regardless, whatever that turns into for the Sharks and for Kane, that the Sharks are basically saying, we're committed to him. So maybe that means we're committed to his decision. If he decides that he doesn't want to play, we're committed to that, and we will go ahead and honor his decision to want to terminate the contract. Whatever it is, I think the Sharks are going to try to do the best thing for Kane, and whatever is in his most interest with this whole thing. Again, a lot of this is, it's personal. I don't want to get too far into his personal financial life or anything, but it could affect the Sharks going forward, whether or not he becomes a part or stays a part of this team. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Again, for me, I like the guy and I like what he brings to the team, and I hope that he stays with the Sharks, becomes a mainstay on the Sharks, I should say, for many years to come. His contract certainly has him here for many years, and I think that he's just such a phenomenal talent. I'm 100% behind him. Moving on, we're going to talk about the last little bits here. Next games, Monday and Wednesday against the Vegas Golden Knights. There are 2 games again on Friday, Saturday. However, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, we do our show after every mini series. So Monday, Wednesday are both Vegas games. That is its own little mini series. The one after that, I believe, is St. Louis. I'll have to check. But Friday, Saturday is its own mini series. So you're going to get a show from us on Wednesday this coming week, and then you'll get a show from us on Saturday. I say us, but I don't know if Aaron's going to get enough sleep or not. So you might be stuck with just me again. Who knows? Having said that, again, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm looking for, that 1 point, and I'd be okay with it, right, out of the Vegas Golden Knights. However, having Hurdle back, having Meyer back, I feel like we're capable a little bit more. So I think I'd be happy with a win, right, pulling 2 points or 2 overtime losses, pulling 2 points against the Vegas Golden Knights. That would be, I think, for me, a win. Again, we have to set the expectations properly for this team. You can't expect them to go out there and win every night against really good teams like the Vegas Golden Knights. So you have to be okay with them pulling out maybe a point here and there, right? And so that's just realistic expectations. And that's what I have for this team right now. And I would love to see wins, obviously, but realistically, I think that's what we're going to see. We'll probably see at least 1 loss, but hopefully they can pull a point, maybe 2 out of these 2 games. That would be phenomenal. I won't talk at all about the St. Louis games right now because, again, we'll talk about that a little bit on Wednesday after the Vegas Golden Knight game when we do our live stream. When I do the live stream, I don't know if Aaron's going to be here. So the other couple things here, the Sharks Pride shirt. Again, I think Super Producer Jason has the graphic. There it is. So, again, Hockey is for Everyone t-shirt, limited edition. It benefits Silicon Valley Pride. There are sizes small, medium, large, extra large. It's $10 for shipping, but you do not have to pay for shipping if you don't have it shipped. You can pick it up. It's available at Solar for America Ice Pro Shop. There's a limited availability in March of 2021 or until they sell out. I imagine, again, they're going to sell out pretty quick, but they are just $29.99. They're available at sjteamshop.com. Aaron's got one. I've got one. Super Producer Jason's got one. Super Key Grip Joe's got one. And you should get one too if you want to support Silicon Valley Pride. Again, I think it's an awesome shirt. I love it. And I can't wait to actually go to a game or somewhere I get to rock this thing because as of right now, it's just kind of hanging up in my closet. It's kind of sad, just sitting there by itself. What are you going to do? Actually, it's not by itself. It's surrounded by Sharks jerseys. It's in that section of my closet. Regardless, hopefully Aaron gets some sleep and can join the conversation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please, if you haven't already, do subscribe to the show. Again, we only hit you with emails and whatnot when we're putting content out, when we're about to do that. And we don't hit you up every other day or every day with just kind of content that's whatever, right? We're not throwing videos out there that don't mean anything. We're doing these, like I said, after every 2-game mini series. So there's something to talk about. And again, you guys can join in that conversation. More so than just subscribing. The like button is great. Don't get me wrong. I like when you guys hit the like button. It makes me feel good. But more than anything else, I would love for you guys to, again, share us out there to your friends, to your family, to your other Sharks fans that you know. Get us out there because if you're enjoying us and you have like-minded people that are with you, that are fans, they're probably going to like us as well. So they can join in that conversation on the comment section there during the live streams. After the show is done, putting those comments in, we can respond to them there as well. I think this format where we do live shows works a lot better when we have a lot of people in the comments kind of giving their thoughts and chatting it up and talking. I realized that since Aaron's not here, that we didn't get to do the roll call. I apologize for that. Maybe next time I'll remember and we'll throw it in there somewhere. But as of right now, that's essentially the show, you guys. So I want to highlight a couple more comments. Mr. Hernandez here says, I think San Jose will get 4 of the next 6. Okay. And you know what? Again, we just talked about this, where if the Sharks go on a bit of a winning streak and somebody on the top end of the division goes on a bit of a losing streak, we might find ourselves in the conversation a little bit here, which will make trade deadline very interesting. And Doug Wilson will have some very difficult decisions to make if that's the case. Kellen here says the Sharks are 3 points back from the Coyotes and the Kings and have played 2 less games. I believe they can at least catch those teams. Hey, man, I'm 100% with you. I think they absolutely can catch those teams, and which, again, puts us right in that conversation. So, who knows? There's definitely, you want to watch Sharks hockey right now because the team is gelling. They're playing well, and we've got our guys back and healthy. You've got Hurdle, who's looking phenomenal, hasn't missed a beat. Timo Meier has been scoring goals. Kevin LeBanc has been scoring goals. Erik Karlsson scored a couple goals, and he's looking phenomenal on his skates. So I don't know. For me, this team is exciting to watch again, and I'm looking forward to your guys' take on a lot of what's going on as we move forward into more and more episodes of the Fin Factor and get those comments going in here as well. Last couple ones, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up. Brian says, do you think the Sharks found their 4th line center? I don't know if they found their 4th line center. I mean, I think this is kind of a revolving door. I think the whole 4th line is kind of a revolving door, to be honest. Now, I think you're referring to Handemark. I believe he was playing center tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if that's the case, it's too early to tell. He's played his 2nd game in the NHL, and the first one was like at the beginning of the season. So he's really only played the 1 game. I don't know if he's going to be sticking around in the lineup or not. Again, I feel like that bottom I don't want to call it the bottoms. Let's say the 4th liners. Okay. I think those 4th line guys, or the second 6, as Brett Heddick likes to say, I think it's going to be a bit of a revolving door there. So we'll see who sticks and who doesn't. A lot of that is going to depend on how the team's playing and how those individual players are playing. I think Bob Bugner has been very upfront and honest about playing certain players and when he's going to have you benched, and he's done it. He's stuck to his word. So there you go. Last one here, Kellen Foster. I'm going to take a shot for the win, and to Doug Wilson getting a new webcam. I love it. Very good stuff. Thank you, guys. Hey, man, I appreciate all of you. I can tell my voice is going. I appreciate all of you guys popping in the comments. I appreciate the super chat and the Venmo and all the ways you guys are supporting the show, not just monetarily, but through this conversation that we're having. Again, please share us out to your friends. I'm sure they would love to jump in on the conversation as well. So for super producer Jason, I'm Paul. I've really enjoyed doing this. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me doing this solo. It's been tough, but I think we made it. We're going to be okay for the next one. Hopefully Aaron gets back. But either way, if I got to do it solo again, I'm here for you guys. So once again, for super producer Jason, I'm Paul, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube. Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts. You'll also find our exclusive merchandise